So a lot of people tend to ask the same question when it comes to when they're starting to build a computer. How much is too much? Where is the optimal budget for a computer? And also, what is the least amount I can spend on a computer and still get decent frame rates? We're going to talk about that today. Before we get on, don't forget to like the video if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, link is down below to the merch store. Go get some great merch. So first thing here, this is the intermediate build I did on the PC budget list I did a while ago. It's a little outdated now, so I made a new one in my previous Monday video called Intermediate 2. This is more or less the same build, but a few things I changed just to make a couple things a little better. For instance, I decided just to stay with the NVMe drive instead of having the option between an SSD or NVMe. I went from Crucial to G.Skill. I changed the motherboard mostly just for looks. I don't think there was a big price difference there. And also, I went from a 1650 to a 2060 Super because it better fits the 5600X. And honestly, price-wise, it's pretty good. The original intermediate build is 1062. That's without the price of without the RAM price. So just add another like 80 here. And the price I got from Micro Center on the 1650, if I'm remembering that correctly. Now you can get the 2060 Super from Amazon or Newegg, whichever one. And it's a little more, $11.89, but 2060 Super is considerably better than the 1650, so I would suggest 2060. This, honestly, is what I would consider to be the optimal setup for a computer when it comes to what most people are going to be doing. This setup should last you 4 years. At the very least. If you're just going to be playing games that are older and don't need the very best, I would say a 1650 would be perfectly fine. You could even just go with this budget build I did a while ago as well and use a APU so you don't have to get another graphics card. For most people are doing somewhere around $1,000 is honestly really good in terms of price to performance for your computer. Now, price performance, that is important. There is a bit of a scale here. Price performance is relative. So we'll say price is this bottom line and performance is the top line. The higher performance you need, the price is going to be generally pretty close, and then all of a sudden at a certain point, I would say around where you get to around the $2,000 builds, to get a leap in performance, you have to spend 5 to 10 times the price as you would have before. That's why builds cost $2,000. And honestly, right here at $1,000, you're sitting at right where you need to be. Price performance, it is the very best you're going to get. 2060 Super, Super 2060 Super with a Ryzen 5 5600, 970 Evo with some G.Skill Trident Zs, and a Noctua fan, which honestly, best fan out there. Nobody's going to beat that CPU cooler. Not for a while. Now, as a little bit of a, point making, let's go back to our overkill build. I really did go out of my way to make this the very best, but there are extra things that I did. For instance, the Seasonic Prime Ultra, it is actually the power supply wattage that you need. You need about 1,000 watts for this because it takes about 500, almost 600, especially with that 3080 there. However, I got a really expensive case. It's not expensive right now because of a couple deals going on Newegg. so might be a good time for everybody to get some cases. Depending on what you're doing, you really don't need 64 gigs of RAM, so you could actually just not get this. You could have gotten a cheaper butt motherboard that had the same amount of features, and honestly, just switch this out for a Noctua. You get the same performance. It doesn't look as amazing, but it does look good. And thus we come to Overkill 2. Going from $3,000 and $3,046, we go to $2,138. We still have that 3080, but it's considerably cheaper because I found a different one. I don't know what LHR stands for. I'd imagine it's still a really good card though, even with it being a light hash rate card. It is a 3080 to be honest. Still stayed with that 980 Pro. I could have honestly went down to a 970 Pro and still be fine. I cut that RAM down just by one kit because I do not need most likely that kit. And I changed the motherboard to a B550 from NZXT. I wouldn't go to a NZXT B550 or a B550 in general for an overkill computer, but I decided to look at it a little bit. It has a lot of things going for it. For instance, I like the cooling plates they have on here. It looks really nice. Very minimal, very sleek. Ample amount of USB and Ethernet headers. By the way, it is 2.5 gigs, which is really exciting to me. Has Wi-Fi and a BIOS and CMOS clear button. It has a decent amount of fan headers. Now, I don't know how it is to use in a build, so that is a problem. But from looks and also specs, it was really good, especially for the price. And honestly, it was cheaper than the X570, and in the end, still a very good computer, but cheaper. I also went with the NHD 515 Chromax. This is a Chromax with two fans. Two of those very, very tasty Noctua fans with the almost godlike, beautiful mounting system they have for this. And is $50 cheaper than the cooler I had on the other Overkill computer. So all in all, shaved up $900, and I still get a excellent computer that is most likely going to be able to do video rendering, a little bit of 3D rendering, even do benchmarking if you really, really want to just see what you could possibly do with this computer. Now, I will say generally, depending on what you're using, you might want more RAM, or you might want even less. It depends on your use case. With Overkill, I would say 32 gigs is more than plenty for really anything you're doing. You really don't need more than 16 gigs, to be honest. But if you're doing editing and rendering, 32 gigs probably is a good idea. Also, I'm doing a video on RAM here next week. You guys are going to love it. I know I am enjoying it intensely. But that is where I believe it would be a very good price to performance build. That $1,000 intermediate build that I had is quite honestly the best pricing you can get for a good computer that is going to last you a few years at the very least. Honestly, if you take care of a computer that costs $1,000, even up to $1,500, you're gonna have a computer that's gonna last 4 or 5 years. And the only upgrade I would say to do with it would be maybe add another thing of storage and some RAM. But everybody, thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel. Also, link is down below to the merch store. Go get some merch. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, go check out my computer parts basic video. This video honestly was me explaining each and every part of a computer so that you could better understand what they do and what they are meant for in your computer. Because like any good tool, the person that uses that tool should know how it works and what it does. God, that sounded kind of cheesy. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and have a good day.